Hello and welcome to the Pro Detailer Magazine podcast. Today we have yet another celebrity guest from the world of detailing, none other than Mr. Stephen McMahon. Say hello.
Hello, how are we?
We are all good here, and we have got Mr. Aaron of Seeley.
You don't do the celebrity stuff when it's me, do you?
No,
That's fine.
Because, you know,
Nobody likes me.
misrepresentation. But we have got you, and now you are, well, so you're involved with the Mega Test most recently. That's when magazine readers might have sort of first come across you.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Unlike me, which was Crime Watch, so you know, it's a different introduction. We are really talking because you are now one of the team behind the new the Car Boutique group on Facebook, which has been around for how long now?
So Car Boutique now, or sorry, the Car Boutique has been going now around about 2 years.
2 years.
So it's gathering a lot of momentum.
It really is.
It really is an enjoyable experience to be part of. There's three of us which are partners, so if you'd like to call it that. Myself, Andrew and Arthur. Both of those are serving members of, not her, but his...
Armed Forces now?
Yes, Armed Forces. And,
Or there. It's a modern world. You know
That's right, yes.
Or our,
Or,
technically.
or whichever. So, you get where I'm going with this.
They're like uniforms, yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so no, there's three of us. And also, it's not just us. We've got a lovely group of moderators and group experts which help out tremendously. And it's going really well. But yeah, 2 years so far. And yeah, definitely gathering momentum in size and all positives as we know.
Yeah, well, we're going to go into the group in more detail at how it came about and kind of what their driving ethos is, because we feel certainly that it's very different from anything else out there and for the better. And we're going to look on that, and then we're going to start talking about the challenges of being a product reviewer, which, you know, we all have in our
Yes.
jobs. So what I first of all want to start with is a bit more about you. So what did you do at school? What were your favourite subjects?
So at school, my favourite subjects, I would say, were PE. I loved anything to do with sport. I played rugby, football, to a good standard as well. Was, you know, scouted county-wise and everything else.
I never had you down as a rugby player. I mean,
Did you not?
No.
The 6'3" and a bit, 20 stone build.
I was about to say, for the benefit of the tape.
Yeah, didn't give it away. I'm sure there's some pictures of me hiding somewhere, or trying to hide.
Oh, there are pictures
All
of me
right, I'm not
hiding
hiding
too,
anywhere.
but that's different.
I don't think there's any chance of me winning hide and seek, is there?
Oh, I don't know.
Red bus, maybe?
Yeah, I was thinking Stonehenge, but yeah, no. That's,
Just carrying a conifer around in front of him.
and then, so you left school, and because your dad's background is building, isn't it? It was
So yeah, my dad is heavily civils construction, was for, and still is. I mean, he's pressing on, bless him, but still as fit as a fit.
Fit as a
to say,
fiddle.
fit as a fiddle. And yeah, I got into construction also, but we'll rewind before that.
yeah. So you left school.
Left school, and I served a mechanical engineering apprenticeship, which, as we know now, is Mini BMW, which then was Rover. Living in Farringdon, Oxfordshire, I had the choice to go sort of, you know, Swindon or Oxford.
Yeah.
Apologies. And obviously, yeah, served out a mechanical engineering apprenticeship in Rover, large cars, as
Yes,
it was then.
so Cowley, I guess.
That was Cowley, correct?
Because Bert now drives a Rover.
Oh, yes.
Not true. I drive a Chinese microwave.
What's the Chinese version of it called? Seiko? Is it?
Seik is the brand,
yeah.
and the name of the actual
What were you
car.
saying they call Rovers over in China?
Roe
Roa.
because they lost the when they at one point owned it. It was the people who own Volvo and God, this is a tangent already, isn't it?
Yes.
Who owned Polestar and Volvo are owned by Geely, and at one point Geely I think had the Rover or had some sort of interest in it, and they introduced it in China, and then they lost it, and so they had to change it to what it phonetically sounds like in Chinese, which is Roe. So in the old days we used to drive a Roe 25
Oh.
or a Roe
Had a Metro.
Metro. Roe Metro, that sounds naughty.
Handle like a boat.
Okay, back on topic.
We're going to get, easily led today. We've already started before this, went record. But yeah, so mechanical engineering apprenticeship, served, finished, completed. On the day I finished and completed, I was told by my father, Dad, do not get into construction, do not get into... So I quit, and yes, I did. I went into construction. But to rewind just before that, while I was lucky enough to be at Rover doing my apprenticeship, they give you training money. So that allowed me to do my car licence as soon as I turned 17, and they partly funded it. Brilliant. And as soon as I become 18, October is my birthday, actually, next week. In the January, you got another £200 well, in those days, I'd done my bike license.
And in those days, 200 quid.
That's about a Rover, isn't it?
It done really well, but obviously being of sort of farming stock, because I grew up as a young lad, driving, it was removing the bad habits, shall we say, was what I needed my lessons for.
Did you try and operate your car as a stationary gearbox?
Actually, it's funny you say that, but it's exactly that. I had one lesson with my driving instructor before he dumped me and said, you need to find somebody else. And actually started explaining how a clutch works. And then I asked him whether, well, that's not how a paddle clutch works or a triple plate clutch. And he just looked at me and said, get out.
Do I have to double the clutch on this? Well, farms, the lorries, the tractors.
I used to slip the car into neutral around corners because that's what you do in a tractor.
Yeah. So, all these were life experiences and everything else and part of it. But say, we touched on it earlier, I bought a R-Edge Mark II Escort in white with 13,000 miles.
When they weren't £100,000.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I'm showing my age. But so I'm into cars from a young age, as you've probably seen, or tractors, or lorries, or bikes.
Anything you can destruction.
Anything I can play with, tinker, take spark plugs out of, take chains off of, clean chains and make them rust and then break and
set on fire
and play with petrol and stuff. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I'm seeing some commonalities here.
So heavily involved, let's call it then, in vehicles and everything else. And obviously I picked up the love of trying to clean my own car. Why wouldn't you? Vinyl, plastic and everything else. It was shod then in the Mark II. With the roof and everything, as you remember.
Vinyl, well, I've seen pictures.
Cortinas and yes. But I'm going off piste again as normal. Went into construction. But obviously having a massive interest in cars, I actually missed, even though they're only Rovers. We can at least go with a mix of 6R4. Can we use that as inspiration to keep us excited by the Rover brand?
It's pinnacle Rover. And also, you say it's only Rovers. Actually, it's only recently, like the 90s and possibly the 80s, where Rovers were a bit rubbish. Because if you talk to anybody who grew up in the 60s, a Rover was a fancy pants car to have. It was a step up from a Triumph. Yeah.
Then they had the Tomcat.
Yeah. Well, the Tomcat. Yeah, I mean,
remember the Tomcat 220?
Yep.
If you could probably get one of those now. So they were no slouch, were they?
No,
Tahiti blue, wasn't it? I remember the colour.
Oh, I know.
Do you remember that midnight colour?
Yeah,
really stunning.
Again, say remember. I mostly in photos, but it's fine. I did history at uni. So we've got those. You're massive into cars. You're working on the site, and did you, in terms of the kind of the construction work you're doing, did you find a specialism or something you really enjoyed doing particularly?
Anything, because I'd already, as I just mentioned, grown up through the farms, agricultural, plant, diggers. My dad is still to this day a machine driver, so I've had an unhealthy obsession, let's call it, with diggers and going to work with them on Saturdays and else. So that was why the construction. I couldn't help it.
Cool. Well, I've got a hydraulic ram out there that needs fixing, so I'll talk to you afterwards.
But like we just said, now we've got the construction side, which I'm currently in, but we'll touch on that afterwards. The cars never went away. It could not go away. And growing up in Oxfordshire as I did, and then obviously migrating from the Mark II Escort quite quickly, as I think I said, I put £20 in to go 18 miles and actually run out before I got there because I might as well have used a sock as the fuel lines. It was that bad. So, that quickly went into the Yellow Peril Fiesta. But
can we just have a moment of silence for when a tank could be filled up with £20?
That's a good point here.
It's terrible.
I can fill up my lawnmower with 20 quid now. That's pretty much it.
Honestly, is it £20?
Not quite.
You have to have the additive in it as well, though, so that adds up.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, Mike.
Well, that's sad.
You know when people say we want more adrenaline in these podcasts? Not just
I've never heard anyone say they want more of anything of this podcast.
That's fair dues. So you're in the Yellow Peril, which is a Fiesta
Mark 1.
Ooh.
So I've got a vast car history. So let's skip forward to the most important parts. I got heavily involved with magazines of the day, Fast Forwards, Fast Car.
Yep.
What was the other one?
Max Power.
Max Power, yes. So I had an Astra GTE 16 valve, which was featured in Fast Car. Number plate A16V FW. Take that how you will.
Hang on, I'm not good with numbers and letters. Oh, God!
Hand signals were required, but yes, it wasn't meant for that. But that's what I got called. Which I worked hard for that. But fast forward, black RS Turbo. Show 2, 1990.
Okay, in black, you were saying.
In black.
Oh, that'd be fun to keep swell free.
Yes. which I took to shows and polished and loved and absolutely idolised, which then brought that unhealthy obsession, what we call detailing, to a whole new level. Because why don't you show this car? No problem at all. Pandora's box. It was. And when you start to show, so you got your show and shine.
Yep.
And you want more, and more, and more. And I took it to car shows and meets and photo shoots and everything else. So up we went, and I just could not get away from that enjoyment that I love doing.
And this is during the. So we're talking 90s here now.
So yes. So I then looked and why didn't I make a career in this? Why not? Because it's not called work, right? If you enjoy it, that's the way I see it. And luckily, local to us, we have Williams Formula One. And in the Oxfordshire area, Alpine now, but Arrows, Benetton, and so on and so forth, we're lucky to live, where we do. There's a local company to me, which is still going now, Brickhill Car Group. I was lucky to gain a position with those guys. Which none of my skills that I'd learned as mechanical engineer and welder and turner and panel beater actually.
Yeah, panel beating, carbon fiber race cars.
Carbon fiber. Yeah. But we did, offside of that, we did other cars. We had some really rare cars. Panos, remember that?
Panos, yeah.
Yes.
God.
Quick story. One of the guys, NEC car show, we used to prep cars. So I'd be at the NEC or we'd prep one-offs, rally cars, Le Mans cars, prep them to go. The lorry loaders would turn up and take them away. Panos, one of one. Noel Edmonds was something to do that, wasn't he?
Yes.
I remember him coming to have a look. One of the guys took a Spirited, was only supposed to move it without starting it. Took it outside.
Bit of a donut.
You know the rest. Yeah. He did a donut. He was a donut through the fence, through the posts, smashed up a one of one.
Jesus.
Which we then had to fall on the skills that I learned, as in getting some sheet metal parts, which they'd worked on as V2, V3, maybe before this prototype, to send them over to make them work, because
bloody hell,
that's how they produce this car. But yeah, I digress again.
What does an angry Noel Edmonds look like? Because he's a short man, but...
Well, this wasn't afterwards.
Oh, okay.
This was, he obviously come to see the car being delivered, because he hadn't seen it. It was delivered straight to us. And yeah, so again, with that, working at Brickhill Car Group was Williams, Arrows, and Benetton. I worked through the Benetton team, but also covered the others. It's all quite hush-hush. That's why I sort of stayed away behind the scenes.
And what were you doing to the cars?
So polishing. Machine polishing, correcting. We're doing PPF, removal of PPF. Also, as I said, we had Le Mans cars coming through. Some of these cars had done races. And then once if it's a main sponsor, for instance, Vodafone, for instance, their car, they wouldn't want a show car. They were done, and we did those as well for Harry Mendel. It was the guy who used to do those. But they would want the car stripped to PPF, re-PPS'd, or left as it was, literally polished up with the stone and everything else, because it was going to go and sit in the showroom. Yeah. So every day was a different day, but predominantly would be, new stuff would be through the paint booth, out, still warm, with rotaries, with 3M or Ferrecula. Yeah, using those key products, which then you put on with a microfiber, if you remember. Remember in the tin? You used to bust the tin off and spread it about, wipe it on, and away you went.
And so you're doing PPF in, I guess that would be late 90s?
Yes.
I'm trying to think. Because who are those teams now? Again, a quick aside. Who is Arrows now? Because
they went, didn't they?
I don't know. Well, no, it became Red Bull, I thought.
No.
No?
Okay. No. But
it's weird, all these teams.
Benetton will be Alpine, wouldn't it? Now, still based in the old Enstone plant. Williams is still Williams. Yeah. And would you believe a lot of the work wasn't just the cars, which that was obviously predominantly our work, tub after, rear wing, front wing, whatever. Also, the lorries used to pick up quite a lot of damage, would you believe? Low trees. They do hit, well, they did then, more than you care to imagine, each other. I know this stuff.
I can imagine those hospitality lorries, particularly. I mean, they're just crammed full of beautiful young women, aren't they? And
so we'd be quite regularly on a mute at the top, using the panel beating skills again. God. Bringing out and panel beating the lorries.
And they're valuable, those big ones. The ones that expand when you park them up, and then they kind of double in their size and stuff like that.
Correct. They really are. So do you know what? It was really exciting to do something when, say, we don't call it work, to have your hobby, which was a passion, and you got paid for it. It was brilliant. It was a lot of long hours, though.
Little question.
Yes.
Why'd you stop?
Do you know what? I can't remember why I stopped. Okay. And I honestly, I can't. I believe, and what I remember, I was young and stupid, and I got dangled the carrot of being back in utilities, right? Back on the construction with the water, gas, electric, and everything else. And at the time, then
the money made sense, I guess.
Ridiculous,
Yeah.
really. That allowed me to enjoy my passion of cars and bikes and have both when I could have easily bought probably a house outright. But no.
We bumped into quite a few people. I was talking to John Hole, and he was pointing out how he should have bought a house many years ago, but he's just got such a thing for cars. He just preferred to have fast cars.
So yes, I had a Cosy.
Yeah.
I had Fireblade.
Jeez, the insurance on that alone would probably bust the.
It was a quarter of the price of the car to insure it.
And that's an Escort Cosy, I'm guessing.
No, that was Sierra Saf.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Which is a better looking car.
I loved it, yes. You'll probably see now my grey Transporter, my grey Volvo.
Oh, I can see a pattern there.
I can see a pattern.
So was yours a rear wheel drive Saf then?
Of course.
Yep.
It was the one that would bite you at 90 mile an hour when you thought you were okay. It would creep up on you.
Well, a friend of ours,
in Mexico, obviously,
a detailer, Jason at Privileged Detail up in Edinburgh, has got one, and it is in that grey as well. And every time I go up there for an assessment, I just spend time just drooling over it. I'm not a huge Ford person, but for some reason the Saf is just hits the spot really.
Yeah, no, it was a nice car. I loved it. Obviously, the complimentary 4x4 bonnet, even though it was a rear-wheel drive.
So were you featured in Fast Forward in the 90s as well?
No.
Because we've got a magazine here from Fast Forward from the 90s.
No, 2006.
Oh, was it 2000? I thought it was earlier.
Yeah, no. It's where John was featured at the beginning of Detailing World.
Yeah, and it's John Hull with hair.
Yeah, I know.
Was it really?
Yeah. It's a bit scary.
You have to show me on the way out.
Yeah. No, absolutely will. Once you fix that jack.
Take a photo, use it at home if you want, that's fine.
Yeah. No, actually, I've got to return it to him. He was very certain I need to return it to him. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. So you had that, and you are back in construction, and so I'm guessing we're talking turn of the millennium at this point.
Yes. So obviously, off the back of that, I pretty much stayed in construction, but obviously with an unhealthy obsession, hobby, and passion. Let's call it passion.
Passion's more. You can talk about that in polite company.
I can talk in polite company. Yeah. It hasn't gone away. It's still very prevalent and at the front. I enjoy doing it. There's just no getting around it. I enjoy the testing, the reviewing, every part of it. And it's job satisfaction, isn't it? And that is something, especially when you get a disaster detail, let's call it, or a barn find, which is, had the paint protected by the layers of dust and dirt, and you can turn it around. I don't really think there's a better feeling than when you get, and do a turnaround on something like that.
I totally get you on that.
It doesn't go away, does it? For me, it's still there now.
Yeah, and you remember it for a long, long time. Hell, I don't remember much of the noughties, but I do remember cleaning my little furniture at the time.
Yeah.
So, Cycle Forward. So you're at top of your game from a construction point of view. You've got a nice job, well paid, and all the rest of it, and you've got some time to yourself as well, which is cool.
Exactly that.
You've got lots of nice cars. You've got your transport. Oh, I say nice. I mean, they're not like cosy nice. You've got Volkswagens, but
they're a different nice. I would agree they are nice, and the two vehicles I have currently are both very, very nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I did. See, I've recently bought a new car. I've never owned a car that's younger than 2007 in my whole life because I like old cars. And I don't like
really?
Yeah, and I got a new one recently, just on finance. It's just a crappy little thing, but the technology and just being new has a certain feel to it. And I've been a passenger in a big Volvo like yours.
Yes.
God, they're lovely inside, aren't they?
I've got to be honest. Yeah, right. It is something else.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever sat in anything like it. So before I just purchased the Volvo, and it's a bit of a mouthful, it's the XC60 R Design Power Pulse.
Ooh.
Yes, which I've had fettled by Polestar. Also, it's an extra that you can get done via the dealership.
Power Pulse, that I could explain.
So basically, it doesn't suffer with lag because it's obviously got a big turbo on it. I know it has, you can feel it. It hoofs air into the turbo as soon as you breathe your foot on the accelerator. So the lag is out the window.
You see,
and it spools up. And
you say that, but I much prefer anti-lag on a Scoob, on the proper like rally style ones with the pops and bangs, real pops and bangs, not a Golf R just pretending.
Yes,
I'm talking about a real pops and bangs with a screamer pipe out there that's an MOT failure.
That's it. No,
2 bottles of whiskey to get you through the MOT rather than the normal.
And the one that burns your eyes, you mean, when you stood behind it from the fumes, where it's over fueling.
Oh, but that's part of the joy, isn't it?
Of course it is.
You always feel most alive, nearest to asphyxiation.
Have you guys heard of superchargers before?
Oh, stop whining like yours.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, I'm here all day.
Well, in fairness,
spitting out oil like you're.
Yeah, I do that in my Nat Aspen cars. But yeah, so now Cycle Forward, and what gave you the idea for TCB and for all of that? Because there's a difference between washing your own car and detailing it and enjoying that on your time off and putting yourself out there as a reviewing kind of corporation, if you like.
Yes. So I say I didn't start it. it was actually started by Andy, Mr. Fraser there. But quickly, obviously, I joined the group and was very active on the group and was quickly asked if I'd become a group expert. Expert? Me? No, it's definitely not me. But obviously, they liked the answers I was giving or the way that I wrote it. As I say, not my strong point, but no.
And it wasn't
something
your looks.
worked. That's it, yeah. Face radio. But no, it was something that I enjoyed doing, and that grew, and we grew a relationship, and it wasn't long before they said, would you come on and be a bit more of it? And yeah. And here we are. And then it wasn't a bit long after, a small time again after that, should we get somebody else in? And we brought in Arthur as well, who's a friend of mine. But
now Arthur's in the Falklands, isn't it?
Yes, but the acquaintances we've made are all through TCB.
Yeah.
And there's, a load of us now that speak regularly, and a couple of WhatsApp groups and this sort of stuff, reviewing groups where we share information or pass materials around between ourselves and put them in rotation so we can get other looks and reviews.
And we'll talk about the whole review process, because that's interesting. But what I want to kind of put out from the start is new Facebook groups and to a lesser extent new review groups appear almost every day of the week. Yes. And we have sometimes worked with some are big, some are small, and all the rest of it. Yeah. What set you apart, certainly from my point of view, and I think from what I've heard from others, TCB is a friendly place to be.
Yes.
And weirdly enough, it's because you've got such active moderation, is that the groups that are very laissez-faire, they're like, okay, do what you like, it's an open free house. You think, great, it's free. And the problem is it brings the trolls in. But with your one, it's not ruled with an iron fist, but it is certainly, there is discipline in there. And as a consequence, it's so nice to be there.
Yeah. We actively promote that, as you've probably seen. I've not been part of the trolling. Maybe I have. Maybe I just didn't see that. But, I give my point of view, but try to stay unbiased and trying to just help somebody. Let's be clear. Help, educate. That's the main focus of this. And we'd all witnessed, seen, or been a part of other groups negatively trolling people and calling them out. Or the worst thing I've read, didn't you check the search bar? Yeah. Well, obviously, they didn't check the search bar, and they probably didn't know the search bar was there because I didn't at the start. Too lazy? That's probably what it is. Yeah. I don't want to go searching and looking for it. Because of that, we all probably me ringing, but yeah, and because of that, we wanted to, stay away from that. So we actively promote, no negativity, and we have a certain set of questions at the start, which obviously don't ask about the negativity or positivity, but we're quite clear and hard and fast on those. If you want to be part of the group, you're all welcome to be part of the group. Everybody really is, but please just answer the questions. Do you, how will you be friendly and polite and everything else? What's your favourite brands and everything else? They're not trick questions. Yeah. And we do monitor those questions if they're answered. I've now changed the rules and regulations that if somebody doesn't answer those questions within an hour, it automatically removes them.
Oh, okay.
So we've done that on purpose. If you want to spend the time or be with us, the friendly group it is. Yeah. We expect from you is please answer the questions politely. Yeah. And you're more than welcome. And engagement. Everybody is more than welcome.
That's a different thing, because a lot of them, if you just stay as a silent fly on the wall, you're never going to be removed. It's when you kick off at somebody. Or one thing that I find really difficult is if somebody's asked a question and then lots of people are giving you perfectly decent answers, get all edgy and they're like, oh, I knew that already, etc., etc. And then he's like, yes. Look, you've asked for advice. We've offered advice. Take it gracefully. Say thank you. And,
that's it.
On your bike sort of thing.
Yeah, there's just no need for it. Yeah. So in this day and age, there's no need, and we all love this detailing, the world or the forums or the groups or whatever you may be. At the end of the day, it's all about cleaning cars, and we all want our vehicle to look as best we possibly can. Some people for the cheapest amount of money, some people don't care about cost. If you're an enthusiast now, like myself, if the product works, the product works. But we don't need to spread negativity, because there is quite a lot in this business. Yeah. And we actively keep it out.
There is an element of, am I allowed to say mum's net unless we're going to get sued? But there is an element of kind of the argument level, because my background's IT, obviously yours construction and stuff like that.
Yes.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never worked in construction, but I'm guessing any sort of construction groups, I don't know, compaремybrick.com or something.
don't misspell that.
Whatever it is, I'm guessing you don't pansy around like a bunch of little girls, because you're all built like brick shit houses, frankly, and will knock 7 bells out of each other if you ever bumped into them. So
it's quite hard and fast. Yeah. Yes. And there's a certain set of skills that you use at work.
I have a certain set of skills.
That's it, yeah.
It's cement and a trowel.
That's it. But no.
Same voice impressions are one of them, apparently.
Stop it, don't do that.
More jokes.
But yeah, no, you're right. In every walk of life, there's always going to be negativity, but we actively try not to.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is in the detailing one, partly I think fueled by everybody saying how negative it is, because everybody says, "Oh, isn't it? What a bitchy little industry?" And then everybody thinks, "Oh, it's a bitchy little industry," without necessarily thinking about it. But but I think there is certainly more than IT, and I would imagine more than construction and stuff like that.
Correct.
But I wonder what it's like for paint sprayers, because we know what they're like in the motor trade. So their groups must be.
I've spent many amount of years with paint sprayers. You can imagine. Yeah. We'll move on. Let's just say I think the chemicals may have affected a few.
Yeah.
If you go and hang around the gates outside, probably Mini now, you'll probably see what I mean.
Bit of isocyanate.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm thinking that it's probably a good time for us to take a little pause, and we shall return and talk about the ins and outs of reviewing detailing products.
Brilliant.
I hope you've been enjoying the Pro Detailer Magazine podcast. I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about two very cool gifts that we have that you can give to people at Christmas if you like them. The first, the car detailing set, is hand wash only, the hardback book, all 144 pages. Born to be Mild, one of our all-time favourite shampoos from Dodo Juice, and a wash mitt with noodle on one side and gauze on the other for glass. That is $19.99, but for people you actually really like and want to spend a little bit more on, $28.99 gets you the hand wash only book, the Born to be Mild shampoo, the wash mitt, Cabin Krug, an interior detailer, as well as Clearly Menthol, a glass cleaner from Dodo Juice, really good one. Anyhow, it also has a microfiber and a back issue from the Pro Detailer Magazine portfolio. All available on our website, prodetailermagazine.com. Anyway, back to the podcast. And we're back. We've got Stephen McMahon here with us of TCB, and we are talking about reviewing because that's what we both do and do a lot of it. And we're talking about, so we've got the Car Boutique style, but we've also got the Geeky Detail Reviews, which is kind of your own sub-channel, but it's all kind of...
Yeah, so I try to link the two together. Being of a certain age again, I know I keep touching that, 44 now, soon to be 45.
That's how it happens. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, it's birthday next week, so presents, cards.
That's it, yeah.
I'll put the address in the description.
Thank you very much. So with the reviewing side of it, obviously Facebook, TCB predominantly is where we all come together and we review our products, help people with processes, and and that's why it's sort of born, or why it continues to grow so well. But on the back of it, I wanted to get into sort of the Instagram side, so we've got a TCB Instagram account. But I guess where I'm going with it is I like the testing and reviewing. We've touched on it a couple of times already. That's what floats my boat. That's what I'm really passionate about, is the reviewing side of it.
And I noticed that when you came in on the mega test, that kind of was almost like a catalyst. Your enthusiasm went from a 10 out of 10 to about a 50 out of 10.
Yeah, I can only thank you for that. We touched on it before. I've obviously loved doing the reviewing and loved the detailing side. It's a massive passion I've mentioned before, but when you invited me in, it's actually woken up something within me that, I like you, struggle with writing and reading that sort of stuff, and it really has.
Well, I was like, that doesn't matter bollocks. I mean, I'm dyslexic.
Yes.
Edit a bloody magazine and can't spell visible properly.
Yeah, so I can only thank you for that. It really has, ignited something, even more of a passion. For me now, it's not so much about the washing. Yes, it's job satisfaction. Of course it is. Who doesn't like to turn around something like we've already mentioned? But yeah, the reviewing side of it, diving in a bit deeper. We've obviously got Arthur, who goes right into it, who's our own personal Andreas, let's call it. And then we've got obviously Andy, who's got his dulcet tones and talks really well.
He's a great presenter, isn't he? Yeah,
and really good at talking with people, as you've probably imagined.
Well, he's got it's S&M, no ASMR. That's the one.
Yes.
And it does. It's a very therapeutic thing. Because I have podcasts and videos on pretty much eternally in the background, so that I'm just keeping up with things. It's my job. And I do. It's less jarring than, for example, me.
And with the TCB, I think some people might get bored. A lot of people say they don't with my reviews. They do end up being quite big, but I try to add now more vlogs and video evidence that backs up to go with it. So I wanted to do something where I could do quick advertisement or quick trials or quick testing. When I say quick, I mean quick. I can post it quickly. Yeah, get it out, one product, brand specific and product specific as such. So I spend a bit more time on it. I don't just get it and then test it and then bang it out. I do a first look, then a second, third, fourth look to give it that view, and also with the different variables with a high water area and everything else. So I know, shameless plug there with the TCB and the Geeky Detail Reviews.
Oh, well earned. And I have to admit, it's exactly that. When you're doing the Graphy Mega Test, some people sent through a Word document with with all the information in. Some did, piecemeal. But your one, I basically went through the TCB and found each and every installment over about a month and a half of all your testings and stuff like that, and integrated it.
That's it. And you set up the group as well, didn't you? The Facebook group for us, the Mega Testers, which was really good. And I kept thinking every week, every time I'd done an update with the vlogs of the individual products and the graphene and the and then I split it and done the ceramics on the other side. I thought, nobody's really posted it. Have they not done their test yet?
In some cases, me definitely was
flooding it. Are they getting bored? Because there was quite some reputable people on there, and people that I followed and look up to, and so on and so forth. So I was always getting worried about, am I doing too much? Because it just seems to be me posting.
Yeah. No, it's just that's how you expressed it. And whereas with me, it was very much a, some people just sent it through on an email at the end. And as you say, some people left it to the last minute. And this is the issue that we had in the past with lots of kind of public run tests, is that just reliability, relying on third parties is often a risk.
As you'll probably be as you probably witnessed after doing that first one, I've now been pestering you.
I'm vaguely aware,
Hi, Bert. Hello, it's me again. What are we doing next? So, as you can see, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And so, again, thank you for that. And onwards to the next one.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's just it. So we've got all sorts of plans ahead. We won't give away too much in the podcast, but certainly in the new product section, regular readers will know that we do a combination of what I call a descriptive review, and where we take essentially the manufacturer's description, say, what it claims, look at it, look at the SDS, and kind of evaluate, and also a bit of a reality check. When a product says this will last for 20 years, we look at it more closely. And the stuff in the pipeline we're talking about is really kind of exciting. We haven't figured out exactly how it's all going to work. But if you remember the new product section, we always have a descriptive review. So that is where we'll look at the product, we'll look at the SDS, we'll look at the instructions, the guides, the claims, and we'll kind of come up with an evaluative thing.
Yes.
And then on the right-hand side of the page, we do a lot more kind of hands-on testing. And there we'll do a twin test, two products against each other, or we'll test it in isolation, or, use it more generally.
Yeah.
What we're thinking is perhaps is that right-hand side of the page could be more of a TCB zone. And what happens is the products get sent into us. We do the photography, we get the SDS together, we do all that kind of administrative stuff. And then we ping them possibly in unbranded bottles or something like that to you guys, just with the instructions.
Wow.
And then you guys can test them and pass them around your group. And then you can produce a kind of a review, which is truly blind and truly objective, because you don't know what the hell you're testing.
Correct. No, that sounds a really good idea. And we really, would take on that if there was something we could do with you in the future together. I think that would be a great little collaboration, because say we've got, pros, ex-pros, enthusiasts, passionate people. We've got people that are new in. We've also got people that have been in the business like myself for, 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
So we could get a nice broad scope.
Yeah.
And also people living up, as we've touched on before, throughout the width and breadth and everything else of the UK, because we do suffer, as we've said before, with different variables in the hard water.
This is a really important thing. So in terms of the different environments, and it is hard and soft water, i.e. hard water has got more dissolved solids in it, and as a consequence it's effectively kind of more alkaline, for want of a better word. And then you've got the softer water that, for example, they have in Scotland, which has got very much less dissolved solids in. It's sort of acidic, it's soft water.
You mean that unicorn tear stuff that they've got up north?
Lucky buggers.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, obviously you've got humidity. So I'll give you an example, is I believe it was CarPro. They had coatings, they've been producing coatings in the Far East for a long, long time. And then when it came over to the UK, they were kind of having issues and stuff like that. It was identified to do with the fact that we're lower temperature. And bear in mind, CarPro in the UK was based up in Scotland, as indeed the professional wing still is, where they do cold quite well up there, and obviously much less humidity than you get in the Far East. And so they bought out CQ UK, CarPro, hang on, I'm just
UK.
C Quartz, C Quartz UK. That was it. Sorry, dyslexia ruling. And that was kind of tailored, and that's used in a lot of other Northern European and Northern areas for that. And I remember talking to Labo Cosmetica, and they were saying that the products they make, they test in all the different places, Africa to, I keep on using Scotland as an example of somewhere in the north.
But there's a lot of detailing brands in Scotland.
Yeah.
Do we know why that is? Sorry to throw another question in there, but there is a lot.
There is a lot. You're absolutely right. And it's not just a North thing, because Norway, Sweden, they're not exactly flush with them. Finland, can't think of much in the way of car care in Finland, and they're equally northern. But anyway, so Labo were very much, or Labo Cosmetica, rather, hashtag Labo Cosmetica with the full title, they say, right, it's got to work in all of these environments. Yes. Whereas I talked to another German brand and talked to their chemist and to the guy who runs it there, and he says, if we have an order going out to Brazil, we will actually do a slightly different formulation because we know it's going to work better out there. And if it's going up to the North Pole, to avoid using Scotland as an example, we're going to use a different thing, even though it's technically the same product, the same labels and all the rest of it. So the question is, from your point of view, you do a lot of testing for people like Infinity Wax, for example.
Yeah, for multiple brands now, which is, and which excites me,
And Infinity Wax is based in Scotland, so they don't know what a dissolved solid is anyway because the water's so soft and lovely.
Unicorn tears again.
Indeed. And you were saying that there's a shampoo, for example, which works really well if you don't have water made primarily of rocks like we do.
100%. And there's been I've obviously got into it. Maybe they may joke or whatever, maybe calling me Mr. Shampoo or Mr. QD, because that's the products that predominantly are affected the most.
Yep.
When we done the mega test with the shampoos, with the waxes, I was noticing a masking, let's call it. Some people, or I put it down to maybe a gloss enhancers, but I, predominantly went for something that was a pure shampoo. But I believe now, after what we just spoke about previously with the alkaline and the minerals in the different waters, and using the Labo Cosmetica, for instance, and other products which have got high alkaline or high acidic, or low acidic properties that clean different. And I've found or noticed a huge difference. People I've seen, I'm quite vocal about my shampoos because of the hard water. I'll be using one ADBL Tangy.
Yep.
It's an acidic shampoo. Because they know that it's going to be for a high mineral area, the user experience I get from it, super sudsy, super slick, super creamy. And it's made a massive difference in my wash process, going through testing all these different products and shampoos and everything else.
And it's a development, I think, is and I'd put this down, actually, I would sort of credit Labo hashtag Labo Cosmetica with it as best as possible. It's their 3 pH wash system with the acid, alkaline, and then a kind of a neutral maintenance shampoo. Yes. There have been shampoos that were slightly acidic beforehand, but it wasn't advertised as such because it was a kind of a naughty word. So this is a change in the vernacular. In the old days, it was you had a shampoo, you might have had a wash and wax, and that was about as exciting as it got. But now, look at us talking about the pH of different shampoos and how actually now there are classifications. And I really want to write an article. A while ago, sorry, I'm going off on tangent here, but I think issue 8, I wrote an article about buckets. And I bloody love buckets. I could talk for a long time about buckets. And it was, I think, a 3-pager all about buckets. And I also like saying the word buckets. And so anyway, and I want to do the same about shampoos, because there's so much, I'm not going to call it ignorance, but lack of knowledge, same thing, but in a less kind of passive-aggressive way, about the different types of shampoo and for different applications. And people putting wash and waxes on coated cars, that's not necessarily going to be the best way forward.
I know, and if anybody's following me on the Car Boutique or Geeky Detail Reviews, I've currently just applied some test sealants I've got that I needed to test. I've also applied them against some big hitters for me, ones that I know that work. And I've gone down using the hashtag Labo Cosmetica range. For that reason, I've been told about their cleaning for their shampoos and their snow foams. And we touched on this before we actually went live, that I was blown away by how good the shampoos are. And by using the high alkaline shampoos and combined with the acidic, or the hashtag Labo, let's call it Labo range, actually unmasked some protectant that was already on there, which I thought was dead and buried.
Yep.
And it's really opened my eyes. Well, it did a long time ago, but that's the current range that I've been using, which has really blown me away in a good way.
And this again, from a testing point of view, makes life harder, because I'll give you an example. So the some testing that we're doing, without giving anything away too much, is going to be a bit of textile cleaning products.
Yes.
And there are some manufacturers who produce 2 products. In this case, one's acidic, one's alkaline. Says, right, you need to use both of these products, get a full cleaning kind of range, if you like, spectrum. And that's fine. But the problem is that a lot of other manufacturers just produce one textile cleaner.
Yes.
And if we're testing them, do we test both of product X and product Y, so to speak, from manufacturer 1 against the single product from manufacturer 2, or do we, just pick one of the two? It's difficult to do a fair test, and this is it. Is that making reviews fair? There are lots of challenges, particularly with the likes of you and me. We've been doing it so long that we recognise, even if we're doing blind, we know what the product is because we can smell it, or we can feel it, or there's a certain taste.
I've got quite a lot of duplicates. Let's call it. I know
well, then there's a white label issue.
Yes. So let's leave it there.
Once you tasted a good tile remover, you know what a good tile remover tastes like.
And glass cleaner.
Yeah,
most of those for me are quite similar.
Bit of rhubarb, and it makes a lovely night out. But my point being is that how do we and how do you make sure or try and kind of put checks in to make sure that your testing is fair and objective?
So when I am doing my test and reviewing, like I just mentioned, I'm probably going to trip myself up here. I'm using the current sealant test that I'm doing because it's current to me at the moment. And I've used the sealants that I know all perform really well. And I've tried to keep it as uniform as possible. I know people are going to say, well, you've put it on the front. The front's going to get hit more than it is on the rear and so on and so forth. I can't control all of that.
You could just drive backwards every other day.
I could do. That's a good idea, but I've not tried that one yet, but maybe next week.
But you got reversing cameras.
About to say you got reversing camera in your fancy pants car. Yeah.
But it's trying to keep the variables the same. And so that's why when I do my testing reviews, I try to check the water. I try and make sure everything's got the same level of cleanliness or the same car or the same shampoo used throughout or whatever it may be, just to try and keep it as good. But you're right, it's hard to do that, especially as you're mentioning, X and Y, two products to go against X, let's call it. One's going to be an unfair advantage. But if the other customer or the brand doesn't do that, then you're going to struggle. But it's, again, playing a nice balance to try and keep the variables the same.
It was like in WWF in the 90s. So you'd had some wrestlers who were doubled up the whole time. So it was 2 versus 1.
Yeah.
And that's why Hulk Hogan never always won.
The thing is, whatever you do when you're doing a review, you're always going to have, unless it's a massively positive outcome, complaints come through from manufacturers that you haven't used it in this particular situation, or you haven't followed exactly this style of
you haven't followed instructions that we didn't print on the bottle.
Or you didn't use my cloth that it should have been applied with, or so on and so forth.
That's the thing.
And you kind of have to go back to them and say, well, sorry, we can only test for certain scenarios. Just because it hasn't worked in this particular scenario doesn't mean it's a bad product. It's just that in the way that we test it, it's not ideal.
Yeah,
and there's also user experience, isn't there? Let's take. That's very subjective. And again, with the variables, the hard water area, the soft water areas, that all has a massive, change on the scale. But for me, user experience has got to come in, high. But I don't smell very well, so it's always hard. I don't get my family and everybody else involved. Scent, sniff. Go around offering the sniff test to everybody, see whether they like the scent or not. But then some of them are amplified in the bottle.
Yeah.
And then when you atomize it, whoa. Yeah, completely different. So,
smell of chloroform to anyone else.
Dating technique.
I'm used to that now.
But again, it's also how important you put different things on. So, smell. Weirdly, I'm a very sensitive nose. To the point of view, I can identify where people have walked in a room or something by them. It's weird and not a superpower you want. Trust me. When you live with 4 dogs. But how important is how much a product smells, because there are some people who say, if they're an enthusiast and it's a wax and they want it to smell of bubblegum, marvellous. They really like it because of that. But then there'll be lots of other people who just want it to last long and go on easily and do this and do that. So it's what influence, when we're doing a mega test, we'll have lots of ancillary things like price.
Yes.
That's a perfect example. And we'll say, right, price per litre of these products, bum, 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 bum. For some people, they don't give a crap. The difference between a 10 quid shampoo and a 14 quid shampoo for them isn't a big deal. And so they just want the best product regardless of price. But then you'll have other readers who are like, oh, but I'm going to save 39p per wash by doing this. So that's important to me. And how do we weight those things? Normally I put price as a medium weighted thing.
Yes.
Whereas say on a wax, something like gloss or durability would be a heavily weighted thing.
Yes.
And label design would be a lightly weighted thing.
Yeah. I guess for the user who's a professional day in, day out, scent might be a big thing because he's using, the same product. He wants to be surrounded by that scent that he's used to, he enjoys and everything else. But where I find sometimes with my reviews now is, let's call it jelly bean or cherry. You smell that now so many times that almost the placebo effect makes you think automatically, I've got that one already.
And we know.
Well, no, it's more a case when you smell cherry, the base product really, really hums.
Yeah, because
there's something nasty in it. If you have to use cherry, that's a nuclear option.
Yes, but there's of course in there bubble gum. There's the cherry. There's the jelly bean. And everything else.
That's the thing, is that we know that cherry is a very powerful scent when it comes from a chemical point of view, and it's also, I think, one of the cheaper ones. You don't have to use as much of it.
The amount of cherry iron removers that came out shortly after Iron X came through. Yeah. It only smells of cherry. No, it just smells of dog shit cherry now. That's great.
So, but as a reviewer, you have to be careful because the scent can take you on another level. So I try and keep out of it and not having a nose like, a Basset Hound as you have. That doesn't really come into it, the scent. So user experience is big for me.
Yeah.
If I was using it day in, day out, as I say, back on the tools, yeah, maybe. But for me now, I want to feel, the slickness. I want to feel like I'm spreading single cream for me over the panel. And the reason why, you're going to ask me a question, I know you are, on buckets. And when we get into that question, that answer is because the amount of buckets I use, I want to know that I'm getting the least amount of marring or protection or abrasives or anything when I carry out my contact wash.
Gotcha.
So that for me is my personal thing. But review ahead on, when other brands send me products, I have to say, no, take user experience out of it first. Does it clean?
Yeah.
Does it do this? What's the suds like? Do the suds last? So on and so forth. And I try to keep with the same mitt also to keep the variables the same. But then on the flip side, some people might be using a Chenier or a microfiber, which I know you've done testing on previously. So I have to have those as backups as well to fall in line with other people's testing. Yeah. It's not all about me. And that's where sometimes it makes it a bit hard.
Yeah. No, I absolutely, I don't want to make us sound like whining little girls saying, oh, it's so difficult reviewing all these car products. Don't know what you're moaning about as a miner or a soldier. Really difficult. I have to smell cherries occasionally.
Yes.
But it's making sure that we're kind of as broad as possible, as fair as possible.
Correct.
And then also dealing with fanboys, dealing with stroppy manufacturers, dealing with all the fun and games that we have to when you give an honest review for something, you get jumped on for it.
Yes. So I tend to behave with my reviews. Any feedback that I get, sometimes the products that are sent to me are not released yet, and which is the way I like it. So I can give an honest feedback and tell them where I think it could be better or what happened. And I explain to them my variables, water hardness, where I've used it, the temperature.
And that's direct to manufacturer as well.
That's direct. I believe, and we're quite adamant, again, with the TCB, we don't want to hear somebody bashing a brand. It's hard enough as it is at the moment. Yet for somebody to come in who might not have, let's call it the credentials to back it up, that's their personal experience. I don't think it's fair to share somebody's own or their one personal experience to a brand and call them out on it. I think it's best personally to take that to the brand and say, on my user experience using such and such variables, this is what happened. Because you might have had a duff product. Yeah. It might be the end of the barrel, it might be the new bit, it might have been changing over. You don't know. You might have got a QD when it's not a QD in a shampoo bottle. Well, you just don't know. If
you go on TripAdvisor and it's got a 1 star, but it's only from one review, sometimes I'm like, I'll give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? Well, we know what the worst could be happening. You can get eaten by dogs at this restaurant. But
so the other 55 died.
But by the same token, also we can't have good news reviews the whole time because, what's the point? I mean, the answer is that most products generally out there are pretty good. What we're really trying to identify are the standout products.
Yes.
But if there is something the product's bad at, I use the bad news sandwich quite regularly when I'm writing, is that I really love the bottle.
Yes.
Product doesn't work. Oh, and the smell is lovely. And then people have to go, oh, it smells nice.
Mine, you might see. I really enjoyed that product. It's really good, excellent, exceptional, outstanding, highly recommend. That's quite a broad list of, products. If you don't see it, then I'm not going to post it. Yeah. That's my way of, train of thought. Some people might say that's wrong. We need to know about that. Well, you won't know about it because I won't show it then. Yeah. That's my take on it.
But then the danger is
I wouldn't get sent products also if I was to negative bash somebody. So it's not what I'm about.
No, it's tricky. Well, I take an example of John DeLue. He, for example, at Forensic, he tends to buy his ones in often secret shopping because he wants to be able to give a balanced review. Because if you're always seen only to be giving good reviews, now admittedly, it could be because you're withholding the bad reviews, but if you're doing that, then people kind of almost give you less cred. Yeah. And then you get a position where people bash a product just to make themselves look like they're the big man. And that's even worse. So getting that balance is right. With the mega test, what we do, we've got, say, 10 products on mega test. We will introduce them all and give them an absolute equal hearing on each product. And then we'll gradually go through the testing. And when a product does really well at something, we will bang that drum for it. Even if it's something as simple as clear instructions, which is so underrated because some of these bottles I have to put my glasses on and I'm not a pretty boy in the first place. Put glasses on me and I'm positively scary. And so we'll sing about it. But by the same token, if a product isn't good at something, we just go a bit quiet on it. because there are
Correct.
10 other products.
I agree with you.
You know,
They call me Mystery Box Marmy. Marmy being my
they call
nickname.
you lots of things.
They call me lots of things. Yeah, probably not to my face or behind my back. I don't mind. I've got broad shoulders.
I just had an inmate number.
But with TCB, we tend to buy our products.
Yeah.
Some of them now have started to be sent through because they want us to do an honest review on it. And I've said to them, you'll get an honest review, but you'll also get, if there's any negativity, it won't be posted, it'll be sent to you direct. But my way that I've done it, I've gone about it for a number of years now, is I buy a mystery box. Surprise me. Hit me with it. I'm not really good at interiors.
Why do I need haircuts?
Yeah, I'm not really good at interiors, and there wasn't really many interiors on the years I spent detailing because I'm not fitting in a Formula One car. Even with all the seats out with the steering wheel, I was still not getting in there. And I say, I never really, went down that route, but that's what I mean with all these products. Not negatively bashing them. If I'm gonna any negativity, give it back to the brand. Constructive feedback, how they take that. Some people take it with open arms and come back to me and say, do you know what? Brilliant. Some of my mates have tested it and they all said it was brilliant. We've sent out to a few friends of friends and they've said it was all brilliant, and sort of left me in a rock and a hard place then. But because I've found it not terrible, great, really terrible. In this day and age, everything is really good. Everybody's caught up, and there is some excellent stuff out there.
It works. It's almost like, have you ever stayed in an Airbnb and you get to do a public review and then you get to do the private note? So public, lovely house, brilliant location, awesome parking, love it. And then private review, sorry, I managed to destroy the loo. You might want to take gloves. And you can have that kind of that dichotomy between them. But no, it's a difficult one. I just think in reviewing, we need to be given I fear things are getting too close. We need to be given that independence to be able to say a true opinion of things.
Yes.
There is no need for needless bashing of brands or anything like that. But at the same token, there's also, it's almost more dangerous if you say all these products are brilliant when they're not all.
Correct.
So yeah, it's a balance to be had. Out of interest, what's your, if you had somebody who you really kind of look up to, I'm not I would say a hero necessarily, but somebody who you've followed a long time and you respect them, who would that be?
It's strange when I look now, really, with the YouTube side of it, let's say, or reading reviews and report. That's where the geeky side of it comes from, because I go into researching YouTube, Google, all my friends, and go right into it. I love the stuff your previous or one guest, Jim White.
Yeah,
what he does. I love the way that he explains it, the way he goes through it. And what he does is what I enjoyed most about my job. Yeah. Wasn't the cleaner side of it. Wasn't, again, the interiors, because I don't really fit. But I like to, the paint correction side of it, for me, is where I like to be. That's where I'm comfortable. So if I was to say, Jim White is what but I love Martin. Do you know Martin on YouTube channels, OCD?
Oh, yeah, OCD, yeah.
Brilliant. His honest reviews, when he chucks it in the bin, and everything else. And then you've got some other people on there you just want to listen to for hours. Yeah, and there are some who it's like, I like, you remember early days of John of Forensic, where the videos were about 4 or 5 hours long, and I never saw the watch statistics on that, but I imagine they tailed off after the first 20 minutes. People were kind of like, we all cut our teeth with John, on the YouTube side of it. Obviously, we'd all been using, probably all of us sat on this table had all been using. I'm a Rotary fanboy, I always have been, but I don't really fancy using it. But no, VAG, I'm always going to get the Votary out because I need to do VAG, and then finish off with the DA. But the stuff that John done, I like because of TCB the way it is, with no negativity and not worrying about how much experience they've got and everything. He started off with the beginner stuff, and I think that's a really good thing. And that's probably why he's got so many followers, because he brought and introduced the DIYers, the people that were unsure about having a go, the people we want to invite into the group, they're unsure about what products to use. They can, rely on some of us that have tested it and do it that way.
He's also John next door, if you know what I mean. Yeah. He's a very real bloke. He generally could be, he's not, because there's somebody called Peter living next door, but it's, he's not, when you've got a detail, if you've got, say, Jim, you've got this lovely professional detailing studio. Yes. And it kind of feels, if you're an enthusiast, I can imagine a little bit different, a little bit separated, whereas John generally could be the slightly odd curtain twitcher next door who works a lot. Yeah. And that I think people relate to, and there's no pretension with him,
No, that's right. We've with all the guys we've mentioned, they've all got that lovely garage set up, and we all wish that we had at home. Well, I do. And the next house we get will definitely have a demo garage for that reason. One, because I need it for the room for the products. But also, I don't think I'm going to be getting the transporter in the garage. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's to have that space to freely get around. And if I'd like to do some more video work and vlogs, then I've got that opportunity to be able to do it.
You need the space. I have to admit, this place, I'm afraid we did bring you near rather too close to Swindon for your own things. But when I was doing up this garage, we put in 3 layers of what do you call it, plasterboard, but special acoustic plasterboard, just to keep the noise down, because we are on the M4 because it's I
it's funny, I don't actually live that far away from you, isn't it?
No.
As the crow flies, what were we, 25?
If that, as a crow flies.
Is it really?
Yeah, but no crow can get past Swindon and get shot and eaten. And so, final question before we go into the 10 questions. The standout product that's hit you this year, every now and then a product hits us in the face. And for me, I've been hit by various products, usually just because somebody's thrown them at me to get me shut up. But there are some products now and then that I just sit there and I think this is really good. Actually, this is a sponge, the irony of all of that.
I've got electrical equipment. I don't want to throw anything liquid.
I was about to say, I can see a 1 litre bottle of Sonex
tyre wax.
fallout remover, or soft 99 tyre wax, or crystal clear detail glass cleaner. All of these things could hurt.
You can say thank you. I gave you a sponge.
Well, cheers. I mean, to be fair, that would exfoliate the crap out of me. But anyway,
take a bigger sponge to exfoliate all the crap out of you.
Thank you for your contribution. Anyway, Stephen.
Yes. Stephen. Serious.
Yes, serious voice. You show my beard twitches at certain times.
We need the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music, don't we?
Well, actually, speaking of that, Dom, so we had a moan a couple of years ago from Dom about the sound effects that we have. So this is Dom Colbeck of Dodo Juice. Hope you're listening. Cheers. And he said he didn't like the things. In the most recent missive to me, he said he's now got used to them. He's been sort of exposure therapy. So whenever you're ready.
I just turn the volume up for that one.
But anyway, so product that stood out to you this year or in the last kind of time period, what's kind of this is good. Doesn't have to be new.
Doesn't have to be new. If it doesn't have to be new, something that's blown me away recently was the Adams Quick Detailer.
Okay.
I like a bit of an old school, QD, easy to apply and nice scent. If you've not tried it, I'm sorry, you must. They've got a limited edition old range. Even some of them I think I bought with the TCB discount.
Yeah.
£8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is this, as a QD, just give a bit of background, is this a kind of spray sealant to QD, or is this a proper QD that you can put on, smear free, take off and actually do a bit clean?
It's going to give you a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. So it leaves something behind.
So it leaves something behind. The water behaviour I've got over it so far, but it's the scent.
Yeah.
The scent and the user experience.
You and your smell.
Yes. Because I can't really smell.
You need something strong.
I need something strong.
Yeah.
And this woke me up in a nice way. The one I've got, eggnog. Well, I've never tried eggnog in my life. If it's anything like this, I'm going to buy loads of this year.
Well, we're getting close to the season of eggnog.
Correct. So it's quite fitting.
Yeah. We walk around marketplaces of provincial towns in the UK pissed off your tits because you like the smell of it. Sounds like me. Cool. Okie dokie. Well, I think it is time that we descend into the mayhem that is the quickfire 10 questions. And I did have it printed out on a piece of paper, but that's gone AWOL, so it's now on the Telio phone. Here we go. So we've already answered some of these cars, but just to keep form, current car.
Yeah. So we got a 2019 Volkswagen T6, which is a shuttle, as you've probably seen, and the Volvo XC60R Design Pro. Yes.
Catchy.
But but I just want to point out, before anybody's feeling disappointed in Steve and being a bag man, he has owned like fast forwards and cool cars past.
Yeah, there's no, I've owned an Alpha, as we all should.
There you go.
Yeah. Couldn't insure it. It was an Alpha Sub when I was 17, but yes.
An Alpha Sud.
Alpha Sud.
Lovely.
Yes.
Boxer engine in the back.
Proper, yeah. I loved it.
Subaru.
Yeah. Yes. That's my cars.
Yeah.
But I've had many, as in probably over 30.
That's interesting. I was trying to count through my cars, and I'm in the same sort of zone of one. It's difficult though when you work in the car trade. You kind of buy and sell because you're buying and selling, not to own. So it's tricky.
The good one I had was Saab 9000 Turbo. That was
I was pretty much born in a Saab 9000. No, I was just in a.
Had a 900 Aero as well.
Yeah.
Serious bit of kit. That was.
God. Yeah.
Sleeper, real sleeper.
Like
the XC60. That's a sleeper.
2.3
turbo.
HPT as well, high pressure turbo. Yeah.
And you could pull the pipe off the ammo valve. Did you know that?
I didn't, because I'd literally just been born on the A34 when I was in.
You could pull the pipe off the ammo valve, which would run it at full boost. So exponentially over 300 horsepower just by disconnecting a pipe of the Hamel valve, bypass the actuator. So you had to watch the turbo gauge because it would blow itself up in smithereens.
Wow.
If you didn't take the right heavy one off.
Well, when you get it covered in amniotic fluid, you then sell it a couple of days later, and I never saw it again, unfortunately. Dream car.
Oh, it's 2. There's always been 2.
Okay.
If I was to get my 6 numbers to come in, I would immediately go and buy a Range Rover because I am a Land Rover.
Now,
Range Rover
okay, so
fanboy.
would you P38 it? Would you L322 it? Would you go for the latest boxy 4-wheel steery thingy?
I'd probably go for the latest one because I've got the 6 numbers. If I didn't like it, I'll buy the older one.
Would you
I
do
don't
a
buy them
big
together.
V8 TDI, or would you go for a big supercharged petrol?
No, I like the diesel. I'm a torque man. I like that. I'm built for torque.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The 4.4 V8 diesel, not the 3.6 twin turbo diesel, because I used to have that as a tow car back in the car days, and it would spin the turbos would explode into the engine.
Oh,
and you get the engine fixed, and then the
completely
other
shit
turbo would,
yourself.
yeah, exactly. So don't do that. But the 4.4 is a solid one.
and I would have to Performante, I think, or probably the Hurricane. Without the Performante
Okay, you're a Lambo man.
lightness, I'm a Lambo man. I like the aggressive out there. Yes.
And actually, I have to say, you and I both fit in Lambos because they're basically Audis, so they're actually designed around human beings.
I can actually get into one. My brother doesn't live a million miles away from here. If you see the yellow one, or previously see the yellow SV smoking around, yellow one.
I think I've seen that in the rearview mirror of my Subaru. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Yes, that was my brother. Yes. But that would be my 2.
He sounds a lot more successful than you.
A lot. Fair play to him. He works hard for it. So, and he's my bigger brother, would you believe?
Oh, God.
Yes.
Hey.
So Range Rover immediately, pick it up, and then I would go looking around my dealerships for the Lambo of choice. But if I had to have one in the stable, I would still love a Diablo.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's poster boy. After the Countach, the Diablo for me was...
I had a Scale Electrics Diablo, and I bloody loved it. I really did. That was cool. Right. First car you ever detailed. So this is going to be a tricky one. Oh, the first car, let's not say professionally. What car do you remember getting down and dirty with from a detailing point of view?
The first car I ever cleaned was the Escort Mark II.
Yep.
It was owned by an elderly gentleman and it needed a good clean, so I good cleaned it, but not so well.
Yeah.
I would say the first car that I detailed before getting in, really into it would be the RS Turbo Black.
Yep.
And if you've ever owned a black Ford, if you can get concourse out of a black Ford, you've done well.
And if you can keep it that way.
And if you can keep it that way,
that's the
because if you sneeze at it, it's marred.
Yep. Yeah, well, bear in mind, I'm into my JDM, so if I stare fearsomely at a car, it'll start to swirl up.
Again, if you've not tried a Ford polishing with a rotary, try a Honda, black Honda.
Yep.
They're on the same level as far as I'm concerned.
Someone I know has got a Cord Type R black, and keeping that, and he's into his detailing. He actually runs an insurance company, but it's always fun. So, next question. Apologies for noise in the background. Big Bertha 2, our printer, has decided to wake up. It's got a mind of its own. When you're dipping your mitts, how many buckets do you like to utilise?
Honestly, I own 4.
No, lie to me. I
own 4. I use 2.
Okay.
Yes.
The other 2 watch?
One holds my array of brushes, and I tend to use 2. I'm a multi-mitt person.
Okay.
One for wheels, one for lower, one for the top.
It's good for you to admit that.
But for me, I am a massive fan of pre-wash. Pre-wash. It takes me that's probably one of the... without the wheels, I pre-wash. Yeah, I'm a fanatic over pre-wash.
So you do a pre-wash by the sound of it?
Yes, we spend a lot of time in Cornwall. And because of that, sand gets everywhere. So the thought of it migrates everywhere, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
As much as it is on the outside, every time you open and shut the door, I can see grains of it everywhere. So pre-wash.
Yeah.
That's my routine.
And so reduce the buckets as a consequence of good pre-wash.
Yes, that's where I go.
Now, I think I know the answer to this question. Rotary or DA when you're using a whirly, machiney thingy?
I couldn't be without it for me. If I was doing my usual VAG stuff, my rotary.
Yeah.
But I am coming around to a DA.
So have you I'm guessing you've used long throw DAs and stuff like that?
Yes, but I wouldn't be without my rotary.
What rotary have you got?
Sealy. An old Sealy. It's something we bought.
We've got an old Sealy too.
That's what we had in the trade. That's what
only
we
works
used.
when people know my surname.
If it ever broke, we got another one. Wasn't changing the brushes then.
Yeah.
And with our old Furricular and G3, we pasted on. That was the way.
Yeah. No, that's old school. And again, I think I know the answer to this question. Coating or wax?
wax.
Yeah.
Definitely wax. Bit of a wax fanboy. Like my shampoos.
I was about to say, we don't really need to justify it, really.
No, we don't. There's something about it, isn't there?
Although now not half the cars, I've got 2 out of 6 cars are coated, which is really weird, but it does mean at
Like
least.
the Volvo, the front end is coated.
Well,
I don't normally coat my own.
Oh, okay.
I've got stuff coming up that I need the basis of a coating to be able to test it.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Whereas before, I don't like to do it on my own vehicles because it ruins my test bed or test beds. So,
I should use that one. I've got lots of test beds. No, I'm going to get in trouble. Ferrari or Porsche?
Porsche. I can't fit in a Ferrari.
That's a perfectly legitimate excuse. And it's a value relevant question. Anyway, more importantly, and you know what's coming right now, Subaru or Mitsubishi?
I'm a bit of a Subaru fanboy, I'm afraid.
Good man. That's how you got through the door. You realise that.
We've had this
You thought it was
conversation.
because you spent years testing products and writing the magazine. Bollocks. It was because you said you liked Subaru. So like, get this man in here. I need an ally.
Yeah, and as I spoke to you before about it, my brother bought a WR1.
Yes.
At a Solberg limited edition.
Oh, what a lovely colour they were.
Lovely colour. And it was like a Scully cat. Mm-hmm. One of the quickest things, I've ever been. My friend owned a 360 Ferrari. Mm-hmm. It embarrassed it.
Yeah.
It embarrassed it. And that was me. I was a convert. And yes, I do watch some of the Evo 8 stuff, but we went out for a test drive because my brother was going to buy with the Evo 8 400 horsepower.
Yep. Oh,
one with a massive turbo that literally had the worst leg I've ever known in my life. And I witnessed it. I was part of it. And then the paddle clutch on and off in traffic. Reading dealership was a rally out. We went to the Mitsubishi. So, no, Subaru.
Yep.
Final answer.
Damn straight. Good work. Okay, we can end this here. No, so Flex or Rupes? Have you got experience of both the brands?
Flex. For me, personally, I like the over-engineered, solid, well-built. For me, definitely Flex. I can see that, why people go for Rupes.
Yeah.
But no, Flex for me.
Flex for you. Final question, and one that I think you might actually be one of the few who answer differently from the others. Sunday drive or a Sunday detail?
Sunday detail.
Yep.
100%.
First one.
That
is the first one.
Am I the first? Am I your first?
You are the first. And we've had some of them have come in and said, "Oh, I'll do both. I'll do one and then I'll do the other," and all the rest of it. That's not an either or. This is a one or the other. And you were the first person who's come through on the Sunday detail line.
We're framing this like it's a good thing. So
yeah. Well,
Genuinely, yes. I can't wait because of my job during the week. With products arriving during the week, I can't wait for the weekend to get out my pad and pen is waiting where I take all my notes. I had new products to live, get the camera out, the tripod out, and off we go. I love doing it. I don't like the neighbours that are always coming up talking to me when I'm trying to do stuff in a one take.
Or you can do mine after. I assume that's
if I had a pound for everybody.
Well, I get that, but I found a solution. Have you ever considered growing a beard and looking a bit like a terrorist?
I'm halfway there. I keep mine.
Nah,
it's not working.
No,
not even the face radio. No,
some people might give you a bit of a distance at the supermarket. I clear a whole freaking aisle.
Oh,
yeah. If I'm in like the instant food section, which is basically all I would go to, it just empties out. It's great. It's brilliant.
Until you smile, very radiantly smile up. But I think it's
it's a murdery smile though.
You are very tall as well, like myself. So I think it's a murdering smile.
No, we're average height.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, everybody else just dwarfs.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. We're not allowed to call them that, but sub 6'3", and anything over 6'4". That's unfair. It's not good. Anyway, before we upset all of the little people and they'll hop up and down. We might spot them. Shall we wrap up? It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and wonderfully natural. We do the same thing from different angles, and it'd be great to work together in future magazines.
Yes.
As you can see the products behind you, we have many things that need further testing or some testing and stuff like that.
Yes.
And we will arrange a system. So to our readers, you may well be seeing some more of Steve and his colleagues in the future pages of the mag. But apart from that, I think it's goodbye from you.
Well, yeah, and goodbye from me.